Well, my circumstances tonight are that I reported to my local comedy club for what I thought was going to be Thursday night open mic action, and I had a whole set in mind that I was going to do. But I always have a set in mind. Of course, I never just wing it. But I halfway wondered if things were going to not if there was not going to be open mic tonight because it's Halloween, and there was nothing in their social media that suggested that open mic was called off, but then nothing in the social media mentioned open mic either. So I knew there was the possibility of it happening, but I decided it was probably happening, and until I heard otherwise, and then I went to the club. In the club, like Adam Driver says, in Megalopolis. I went to the club, and there was nobody. Well, there were people there, but I was told by one of the staff members that there was no open mic tonight, and so now I'm driving back to my domicile in the dark of the Halloween night, and just thought I would capture this moment for whatever it's worth. Yeah. I think these next few years are going to be interesting. These next few years of my life, these next few years of the world's life, they're going to be interesting. We're in for some interesting times. And, of course, I know that's the Chinese curse, but where things are going right now, where things are headed right now, I just thought I would range somewhat expansively on these subjects, and I'm going to call this video Dirge for a Halloween Night, even though it's not a dirge, but that was the name of a poem that I wrote when I was like 16, and it was a really, it was about as good as you would expect a poem from 16-year-old me to be, which is to say not very. But the title, I still like the title. I think the title is pretty cool. So that's why I'm calling this video by that title. But yeah, it's tomorrow is All Saints Day. That's maybe my favorite, one of my favorite days of the entire church calendar. I love it. It's one of the great things about being Catholic. One of the many great things about being Catholic. And that's not being chauvinistic or putting you down if you're not Catholic. I'm just saying it's one of the things that I enjoy about being Catholic. One of the things is the saints. I really, really love the saints. I love having the saints. I love having the saints on my side. I love talking about them. I love reading about them. They're really interesting people, and they're not who you expect. They're definitely not always who you expect them to be, or how you expect them to be. And they're not all alike by any means. Some of them are quite eccentric. Some of them are, pretty normie-ish, as we say these days. Some of them are avant-garde. Some of them are more populist. Some of them endure terrible martyrdoms. Others live long and happy lives. Some of them are married. Some of them are celibate. part of various orders or whatever. So there's the only commonality is their saintliness. The only commonality is their love of God and their total devotion to Christ, to doing the will of God, and to serving Christ in the church. That can take lots of different forms, but yeah, I've often I've thought about it, I've thought that it would be interesting to write about a saint before, and I would like to before I kick off this mortal realm. I'd like to write something about a saint. I'd like to cover a saint. The thing is, I don't know how to write about a saint. A saint is just incomprehensible in a way to somebody who isn't a saint, because you have to understand the mindset of someone who has completely abandoned himself or herself to God, and who truly despises sin. And it's hard. I mean, stories are like, what makes stories interesting is often sin. I don't want to say that sin is what makes life interesting. I'm not saying that, but I do think that if you want to tell a story about somebody, it's hard to tell a story if everybody's just good and does the right thing and basically gets along. So whatever, I think saints do struggle. So you would have to. So there is a way of relating to the saint in having the struggles that the saint has, because we all have our struggles. But I don't know. I haven't cracked the code yet about how to write about a saint. But I love All Saints Day. Tomorrow I will be there. I will be in Mass. And it's not a holy day of obligation, but it's a day that I wanna be there. The saints are my friends, and I'm looking forward to being there, honoring them. And then November 2nd is All Souls Day. Now this is a day where we pray for the souls of the departed, including souls in purgatory. Catholicism believes that there are some who died in a state of grace, but who still need to have their sins purged away before they enter heaven. They're on the track to heaven. There's nothing that's going to get in the way of them eventually being in heaven, but they have to serve some time in purgatory. I fully expect to spend a lot of time in purgatory. And to me, that this year, this is not a hypothetical, because I lost my mother earlier this year. And I intend to give her to give some time to her on All Souls Day, to spare some prayers for her on that day. So, yeah. I think that All Saints Day and All Souls Day, these mean much more to me than Halloween, of course. Halloween is, although I'm not anti-Halloween, I don't think Halloween is a demonic holiday. I mean, the way that I think some people do. I guess it can be for some, but I don't think it has to be. I think it can be just fun. I grew up with Halloween just being fun. And it wasn't dark, it wasn't sinister. And I think it can be that way for people today as well. I was watching a video the other day about Halloween and how it's changed. And how it's changed over the years. And I think this video was talking about how there aren't as many trick-or-treaters anymore. And this was from somebody who was much younger than me, but who remembered growing up in the aughts. So this is a Gen Z person, I guess. Or maybe a young millennial, I don't know. Growing up in the aughts and remembering all the things that I remember about Halloween, just trick-or-treating and then getting your candy and then coming back and looking at your stash and, hanging out with friends. I've never been like a big dress-up kind of person. I guess I could get into the spirit of dressing up as something else if it were, if the circumstances were right. But in general, it just doesn't do anything for me. But according to this person, the whole spirit of Halloween has changed through the years, and it's not as fun and it's not as festive, and that it seems more adult-oriented today. That, I think, might be true. There was no dress like a slut for Halloween. That was the whole idea of dressing provocatively for Halloween, of being a sexy nurse or whatever. That was not around in my youth. So that was, I don't know when that happened. When Halloween became, I guess maybe some adults just didn't want to grow up. And maybe it started with Gen X, or maybe it started later than Gen X. Maybe it started with the millennials. So, but some still wanted to play dress up, but now move it into an adult sort of a scenario with parties and drinking beer and stuff like that. And so I don't know if I've got any grand thoughts about Halloween itself. I can sort of take or leave Halloween. I've got good memories of it as a child. I'm not against it. I don't think it's the devil's holiday necessarily. Anything can be co-opted by demonic forces. But I don't think that's not what it was ever about when I was growing up. And there wasn't really any kind of alarmism about it, or any fear. I shouldn't say alarmism. That makes it. That's putting it in a way that shows my bias. But there wasn't any fear being. There weren't any fearful people out there saying, "Don't do Halloween because it's evil." Yeah. So anyway, these next few years are going to be weird. They're going to be interesting. I don't think the election is going to make. I don't think there's going to be a civil war. I don't think people want a civil war right now. There's, of course, people are talking about that, and that was going to be part of my act, It's going to be part of my comic act. I was going to say, see y'all next week for the Civil War. Yeehaw! But that was how it was going to end. I won't tell you any more of the context. But that was going to be my final line. But I don't see people manning the battlements right now. I just don't. I think things are mellower than they were a few years ago. Mellower than they were 8 years ago. Mellower than they were 4 years ago. I think people are just, I've said this before, I think people are just tired of this shit. They want to just live their lives. They don't want to be angry all the time. It's just gotten old. And there was a concerted effort to keep us in this pressure cooker for several years. I think I don't want to speak too soon. I certainly don't want to be optimistic, but I'm just being realistic. I don't think people want to be angry anymore. I don't think people want to be threatening revolt, threatening to become ungovernable. I just don't see that spirit anywhere. Not among the usual suspects anyway. So who knows though? Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But I think it's always been somewhat contrived. It's always been somewhat manufactured. And there are things we should be really, really upset about. And I am not against having a revolution by any stretch. But you have to be practical about it. You have to think about it and think what's going to work and what isn't, and all those just war questions. Does the about proportionality. Those are all questions that need to be weighed. I have thought about emigrating. I've thought about it. I don't know where my future really lies. I don't know if I want to stay around here. Of course, I've got my children. They're now grown. I don't want to leave I don't want to just disappear from my children's lives. So that's something that makes me feel less copacetic about moving somewhere. But there's this whole there's this move to Russia thing. You can type it in, look it up. It's out there. There's like a move to Russia. I don't even know what to call it. It's something that's sponsored by the Russian government. It's directed at Americans who are unhappy with the state of things in America and in the West. And they're eager to get people to come over. Of course, I'm sure there's some quid pro quo, that they want people to come over and do something for them, and they don't want to just take care of. They don't have any interest in just taking care of a bunch of disaffected Westerners. And I don't have, despite what some of you may think, I don't have. It's not that I'm glorifying Russia or thinking that they're they're the bee's knees, or even thinking of them, in some Dostoevskian kind of way, like that Russia is the New Jerusalem, or something like that. I don't have that kind of feeling about them, but there is something in me that is curious about that whole notion. Especially because I don't see much future here. I don't see the United States having much of a future. Now, what will happen to the United States over the next few years, regardless of this mostly meaningless thing they call the election? I'm not talking about that. Regardless of who quote unquote wins and who quote unquote loses, the country's still going to be the same country with the same problems, the same divisions. All the things that are vexing it now are going to continue to vex it after the election, after the new president is sworn in. That doesn't mean I don't have a preference, of course. I think everybody knows who my preference would be, but that's not even the issue here. We've got to think more expansively, and what's going to get the ball rolling? Because on the one hand, I think things do need to change. I don't think the status quo is tenable right now. I don't think we can go on like this. I think there's a general sense of decline. Everybody knows it. Everybody shares it. Everybody has this feeling that our best days are behind us. Now, that's not to say that there isn't still a lot of America that's wonderful and great. And maybe, it's just all about finding your little patch of dirt, where you can just settle down and make it work for yourself. And it's wild that I have yet to do that. Nearly at age 54. That's just crazy. If I haven't found my patch of dirt by now, then I don't know. But if you're a younger person, maybe that's a thing to keep in mind. Just find a place where you can settle in and belong and do your thing. You don't have to be beholden to anybody, except God, of course. But that's a whole different conversation here. You don't have to be beholden to any supposed ruler or group of rulers, or you just figure out what you're good at, what makes you happy. Think of something that you can do. Think of a job that won't drive you nuts, that won't just make you come home and feel like dying every night. It won't just wear you out. There's no point in wearing yourself out for some job, unless you really enjoy it, Otherwise, I don't see the point of it. I'm not into the. Obviously, I'm not Protestant, but I don't think the whole Protestant work ethic thing is. I don't buy into that. I do think it's important to be industrious. So I do have a certain kind of work ethic, but I don't think you should prioritize having to live a life that, I guess I'm sounding a little like a hippie right now. But I think maybe I am sort of a hippie in my own way, strangely enough. I kind of understand the whole dropout mentality. Just drop out. I don't know about the tune in, turn out. What is it? Turn in, tune out, drop out. Turn on, tune in, drop out. Well, tune into what? That sounds potentially cult-like. Turn on to what? Is that be horny or something? I don't know. But drop out. Yeah, I don't see the point of I don't see the point of just working yourself to misery. I just don't. I don't think that should be done. I don't think you should do that to yourself. And people who want you to do that to yourself don't have your best interest in mind. People who think you should just do the workaday world thing because you're otherwise you're a bum or whatever. I don't hold to that. If you've got a job that you enjoy, and it's good, and it does good. You're doing good things in it, and you're helping people and you're helping society, then that's good. But yeah, I'm not. I'm okay with just. I'm okay with. I don't want to say I'm okay with being living like the hikikomori in Japan. Just sitting in your room all day playing video games and never leaving your house. That sounds really depressing to me. That sounds really... So, if that's what you have in mind, if that's what dropping out means to you, then I don't think that's the way to go. I don't know. Maybe all of this is sounding kind of naive, or a little, or kind of trite. I don't think it's naive. Just maybe this is just stuff that I don't really need to say. I don't know. When you have kids, when I had children, I began to realize I don't want these are people I love more than anything, and I don't ever want them to be miserable. Now, I know we're not going to be happy all the time. I know that, but I would never wish upon them. I don't understand. I know that the typical dad thing is to be kind of a taskmaster, or maybe the old school dad is to be the taskmaster and to instill fear into their hearts about when they come home and their grades aren't good enough, then they're gonna get it, that whole kind of thing or whatever. It's just never. That was never me. I never was that kind of father, and never wanted to be that kind of father. I think there's something wrong with that, being like that to your own flesh and blood. It's not that you want to spoil them or indulge them. But life is hard enough without you. I mean, you want to teach them right from wrong. You want them to stay on the straight and narrow. You want them to learn to be good people, to do the right thing, and to treat people well, and to live the kind of lives that God wants them to live. but that's not the same thing as, you know, like, I'm all over the place right now. This is the Dirge for Halloween night, which I just had to record in lieu of not being able to perform tonight. So I was all dressed up and ready to go. I had my comedian clothes on. I was ready to go up there and do my thing, but I couldn't do my thing, and so here I am, entertaining y'all instead with my Halloween night 2024 thoughts. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm almost at my domicile now. So happy All Saints Day, happy All Souls Day to everyone. That's the next 2 days. November 1st is All Saints Day, November 2nd is All Souls Day. And if you celebrate, please spare a moment to pray for my mother, my dearly departed mother. And thank God for the saints. Love you guys. Oh, all right, I'm done. Good night.